how to touch me. Kiss me. You know just where to kiss me. 'Cause you know how to make me feel so good.
Love these sounds. I just had to indulge, so I hope you enjoyed as much as I did selecting them. And please, I will not be paying for any wallpaper replacements. Okay? My next guest is not only a friend I've known for many years, but a person who I have the utmost respect for. I can sincerely say she is the most hardworking and diligent artist out there, making us smile, bringing us so much enjoyment, and uplifting us with her beautiful, fantastic voice and songs. None other than the UK's finest, Miss Natasha Watts. My love, the last
Yeah.
time I saw you was on the Dixie Queen on the Thames in Christmas 2019. What have you been up to since then?
Do you know what? That seems an absolute lifetime ago, and it's not. At the end of the day, I don't know how to explain it. It is a lifetime ago, and so much has happened in that time that you can only be grateful for every moment. You know what I mean? And so to explain what's been happening, everything and nothing and all rolled into one.
I think it's been a big change for so many artists, and I want to find out from you, did you manage to get any work done?
Okay, so long story short, coming off the back of 2019, where I saw you guys on the Dixie, which was a wonderful boat, by the way. We went into 2020, and I went into 2020 with a good 60 shows booked out for the year. The best year I would have had. I was leading into what would have been a phenomenal time, and that is sort of 6-7 years of build up to get to that point. And so it started off great. There was lots of traveling. Then obviously the pandemic hit 2020. You know, there was some very sad times in the beginning of the pandemic and a huge change in direction. From the point of view, me and hubby, we up sticks. We moved pretty much to the other side of the country. Music got put on the back burner. We explored a completely new way of life that, we'd never tried before. So we now live in the country. And, at that time in our life, it was the right thing. We then come out of the pandemic slowly, and I sort of ventured back into music last September, so a year ago, not actually thinking about where it was going to go, just started to get the gigs back and see, what's going to happen, because our whole industry has changed overnight. The format that was is no more. The people that were are sparse at best. Everybody's idea of entertainment is different. I think I appeal to a over 40s crowd, and their lifestyle has changed. So you have to change with it. So what I found really good coming out of the pandemic was doing these two-man shows, as it were, myself and a pianist, and just tempting people to come out to a little bit more of a subtle show. And I think that worked. It just took everything on a different meaning. And then I decided, right, let's do the next album, because I think I've got more to sing about, more to resonate, more to deliver with people than ever before. And I think that's only coming out of the last 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. What was it like moving to Wales then?
Well, exciting, frightening, apprehension, very stupidity. Um, I don't know. There were so many different emotions coming here because we didn't know anybody. We'd never even been here. Probably a little bit crazy doing what we did. But do you know what? It was one of those moments. Just don't think about it. Just do it. Don't think about it. Because if you think about it, and I know a few years ago yourself, you did a huge move, and you can fixate on doing something so much that you end up not doing it. And I think we just was like, let's just do it, done, and think about it afterwards. So I didn't even know where the local shops were when we came here. I just didn't know anything.
Now, when I spoke to you and
Mm,
invited you onto this show, you told me that when you
mm.
saw the house, there was
Yeah,
something about it. And I want you to
yeah.
tell the listeners what your experience was, because when you told me that, it threw me. So
Oh, really?
please can you tell the listeners, because I think they're going to be in awe.
Well, it's just there's lots of facets to this story, and the long and the short of it. Yes, my husband was like, "Yeah, let's move," and so as you know, we live in Basingstoke, and I started the search. His idea of moving was, let's go 20 miles down the road to Andover. We've now ended up to 210 miles away. But what happened is I looked, and I actually looked the whole length and breadth of the country, because we was in lockdown. There was nothing to do. So I really put my resources into finding that, had a tick list, shall we say. Now, like you, I believe in fate. I believe in there's definitely something that guides you. So we saw one house, and Neil was really enamored by it, and it was in Monmouthshire, and put an offer in, and it wasn't accepted. But I don't know what it was. I just kept saying, there's something better. There is, and he was absolutely hell bent on this house, and I kept going. But we still, he adamant he wanted this house, and I kept searching, and I saw this house online, and it was bright pink, and I'm not a girly girl, but it was bright pink, and it's 300 years old. I've always loved modern homes. Never in my life have I wanted to live in an older home. So it wasn't actually on the tick list, but every time I did a search, this house would be one of the ones that popped up, and it just kept coming on my screen. Every search, no matter where I did, and it's miles away, this house kept coming up. I cannot explain why this house kept coming up, and I kept looking at it, and I showed Neil a couple of times, and he was very dismissive. Kept looking, and I just said, and we're still in lockdown, and I said, well, let's get permission, because you have to get permission. I mean, it was so draconian, but we had to get permission to leave Hampshire to go to Wales to look at this home. So I rung up and I got the permission. I said, oh, let's just go for a day trip. Famous last word. Let's just go and have a look. The last time I said that, we ended up with a puppy. I said, okay, let's just go. He said, okay, let's go and have a look. After all, we had been locked up for some time, and it was a day out in his mind. So we left really early, like 6 a.m. to get here for 10 in the morning. I remember every detail of it, because it was ghostly, because it was just quiet everywhere. There was no traffic. Drove over these hills, and I'm just sort of like, oh, this is nice. And anyway, we get to the top of the lane, and as we're driving down the lane, I don't know, this feeling of, I don't want to say home, but it was home. This feeling sort of come over me. And as we drove into the grounds and looked at the house, and you just, it's falling apart. It needs everything, and it literally needed everything doing to it. It hadn't been touched for so long. And I'm just sat there sort of with stars in my eyes going, oh my God, isn't it just fantastic? and as I walked into the home, it just felt something like it enveloped its arms around me.
Wow.
It just felt it. And I looked at the house, came inside the house. The house felt really sad, but not bad. It just felt sad. And it felt like it covered its arms around me and said, please. And I said, oh, we've got out. And Neil went, all right, let's go home. And I was like, oh, well, and we did this viewing for like, I don't know, it must have been 2 hours. We had a viewing of this house. I did completely and utterly fall in love. No two ways about it. And I just had to deliver to it what it needed. I'm just the keeper of this house. This house has been here 300 years. I am just the keeper, and a lucky keeper, because there's been plenty of people before me. And now when you walk into the house, and there has not been one person that doesn't walk into this house and go, oh my God, it feels so lovely. It just cascades over you and the house feels like it's smiling now. The house feels happy. It's really weird for me to say this, but I believe in something, but I don't know what it is, okay? But I believe that I was sent here, because there was a million reasons why we should never have got it. Everything was stacked against us, and yet we still got it. And not only that, the lady that sold it to us 2 years prior had taken it off the market because she didn't want to sell it. She loved the house, but she was quite old, and she specifically wanted to sell it to me. I ended up getting on with her really, really well. And we found out afterwards that not only did she categorically tell nobody else they could have this house, she turned down considerable amounts of money that was offered over us, people trying to gazump us, and she undersold it to us. So I know I was meant to be here.
That house is yours.
Yeah, I'm the keeper. Just for a
You are
short
the
time.
keeper. Oh my
I'm the
gosh.
keeper.
I love
Yeah.
stories like that.
I love it. I love it. And it's been the most cathartic thing. And I think this is why I'm so inspired with the new album and the writing and just being in a completely different headspace than I was 2 years ago.
Has Neil come round?
Neil is ecstatic. Neil absolutely loves this house, and he would tell anyone, if it wasn't for me pushing, he would have pushed for the other house. And I was just adamant. I was like, but you don't realize yet, this is your dream home. But he will tell you now this is his dream home.
I'm so happy for you and Neil.
Mm.
Oh, I've got to come up and see you soon.
You'll have to come, yeah. Come and have a weekend down with us, and I can cook for you, and we can go because the beach is 2 miles away, and we can go and have some coastal walks and watch the dolphins, and it's just really spiritual here. It really
I'm
is.
gonna hold you to that, Miss Watts.
Absolutely, Jan. Any day.
My next question to you is this:
Yes.
a lot of your fans are going to be really, really shocked about you. You actually self-manage all aspects of your career without the help of a big agent or a manager. How do you find time and the energy to do this, Natasha?
That's a good question. As I've been up since about 3 a.m. No, about 4 a.m. this morning. I was in Spain this morning, and yeah, I'm not going to say it's easy, it's far from easy, but I am really dogmatic about my career. I made a promise to the most special lady in my life, and I've kept that promise, and I've not only kept that promise, I think I've over delivered on what might have been quite a bold assumption by me 14 years ago. But I have got to the point where I've had lots of no's, Jan, in my life. I've been a whisker away from being signed on several occasions, and almost but not quite, that kind of scenario. And I think as an older woman coming into this industry, because I was 32 before I had my first release, and I say older loosely, but that is old for the music industry to start. I think because of that, I've just realised that most people don't particularly want to take that chance because it's all led by money. I'm more than happy to invest in myself and drive it forward. My first 2 albums came out, as you know, on Said Soul. So they were funded by Said Soul Records and recouped and everything else. And without those 2 records, then I probably wouldn't have a career. But it was still orchestrated, driven and pushed by my desire to deliver me as an artist. And in the beginning I kind of went along with a few things, and some was great, some was not so great. But I think now I've grown, and I know exactly who I am as an artist, and I make no bones about it. I love who I am, and I think there's a huge market there for an artist like me, but it's tapping into it because you have to get through all the pop parade and try and find your way onto a station, that gives you some national exposure. And it's just not easy. It just doesn't, come along, unfortunately. But with that being said, there's still a beautiful market to tour and be appreciated in. And I love that. I really do.
So, would you like a manager, or do you like what you're doing already because you're in control?
I love being in control, definitely. Do I want a manager? Of course. But someone who's going to come along is going to need to be able to put me in my place because I am very strong-minded and I don't know all of it, far from it. But I know me, and I think I know where I want to sing, how I want to perform, who I want to reach, what I want to sing about. I would love someone to be able to take it and elevate it to the next level. Wherever that next level is, I don't know. We always talk about the next level. Maybe the next level doesn't exist for me, but if it doesn't exist, the level I'm at is more than adequate because it's further than I ever thought I would be anyway, if that makes sense.
My favourite track is "Love Who You Are," and I'll tell you the verse that I love. Live life, love life. LLL.
Absolutely.
What is your favourite song and why, my darling?
Well, that is one of my favourites, to be fair, because that song, and I tell this story quite a bit when I'm doing my shows, but basically I was writing the second album. I was in Germany with Rob Hart, and I'd been given a backing track, and I was sort of toying about what I was going to write about. At the same time, my son was 18, and he just had his heart broken for the first time by a girl. The opening line of Love Who You Are is make a difference if you like, change somebody else's life with your words, which I think is, from my point of view, he had his whole world turned upside down because of stuff she'd said. And, we have a responsibility on what we say to people. And the song is actually all for my son. It's about him loving who he is and not taking on somebody else's negativity, or however it is they choose to be. You've got to be who you are, you know. And so that's my sort of my gift to my son, I think. And I tell him as well, you know, that song is all about him, because as a mother, I was in Germany and I couldn't help him. And all I could do was try and explain that this happens, but you've really got to love yourself. You know, it's more important than anything else. So Born a Star is obviously a huge one for me, with it being about my mother who passed away. And the hook on that is from the way that you raised me, or the moments that you said I was born to be a star, which she did. You know, my sister, as you know, she always called me the Ready Brek kid, because I was just like this. Look at me. I'm going to sing. I'm going to dance. I'm going to sing. All every day. That's all I did. But I think my best is coming. It's even better than the other albums. I think I want to say there's a new song, but I can't say there's a new song, but I think that is the best I've written.
You're gonna leave you feeling foolish. That's when you just have to push it off. Hey, yeah. Oh, live life, love life, and live your life. Don't take for granted. Just what you have and live right. Just live it right. It's your life. Oh, yeah. Live life, love life, and live your life. say no, no, no. Got pain sometimes, it's hard to hide the feeling inside. It feels at times like I'm alone, yeah. And I know that I have really grown inside. I guess it's just the way it is. But thank God your lessons taught me this so right. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. What you said to me, the lessons that you taught me, yeah. Now I know what you meant to me, oh yeah. At times I hear your voice whispering in the darkness, saying things I need to hear so clear, reminding me life's precious. I know that you'd be oh so proud to see what I'm doing. It's taken time to get this out, and it's because of you that I shining bright. 'Cause you're my inspiration. From the way that you raised me, oh, you raised me to be everything I am. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. From the way that you raised me, all the moments that you said I was born to be a star. I knew that I could count on what you said. I thank you from my heart. I was born to start to you. Oh,
So where do you draw your inspiration from?
Life, me, friends, events. I'm very observant. I tend to watch what's going on with people, or I try to anyway. I don't know if I get it right, but yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of stuff is written about situations and scenarios that we all go through. But yeah, like I said, where I'm going with the new album is a lot deeper. I think it's a growth, it's it's more about realness.
You have a massive following in Japan. What was it like performing in Osaka with 100 Birds Orchestra?
So, Jan, funny story to that. You love a story. So, love a story. Again, this boils down to my tenacity, I think. with the 100 Birds Orchestra, I was aware of who they were because every year they would hold these huge concerts in Osaka and have guest singers, normally of a house nature. And as you know, I sing house music as well. So I was aware of them, and they've been going about 20 odd years. So I did a little bit of digging, as you do, found out who I needed to speak to, a lovely gentleman called Yoku, who owns the orchestra and has run it. He used to live in London, but he runs it from Osaka. So at the same time, I was releasing album number 3, which was my next chapter. I have a deal with Disunion, which is a CD distribution company in Japan. And so on speaking to Disunion, they said, look, we're going to do an in-store promo for your album. I said, fine, I'll come. And they were like, what? I said, I'll come. So I organised to go to Disunion and sing at their in-store one Saturday afternoon, which was amazing. At the same time, I organised to sing in the, what's the name of the rooms? Something rooms in Tokyo with Shoye, who is Kyoto Jazz Massive. And so I got to do a PA in his venue, which offset the cost of my accommodation. And, there's a way of jiggery-pokery, you make it all work. So at the same time, I then said to Yoku, I said, I'm coming to Japan. I'll come and have a meeting. And he typed back, what, in Osaka? And I said, yeah, I'll pop across. Really wasn't thinking about the logistics behind this meeting that I'd put myself in. So here's the thing. I still hadn't really done the research, which is really bad on my behalf. I'm sort of giddy because I'm going to Japan. I'm going to sing. I'm going to meet the fans. It's amazing. So I told my best friend. 2 days later, she then rings me up and goes, by the way, I'm in the seat next to you. So she booked her seat and she's like, I'm coming with you.
Oh, my
Brilliant.
word.
Yeah. So I didn't go on my own. I went with my best friend, which was amazing. We landed into Tokyo, and Shoye had sent somebody to collect me from the train station to make sure I got to my hotel and to the rooms to sing all on time, which was brilliant because I would have got lost. So we got off the plane having not had any sleep. We go straight to the venue having not had any sleep. We do the sound check. We leave there. Then I go to Disunion and do a live performance, still having no sleep. Okay. From Disunion, we then went for dinner and then I think went back to the venue. I sung for the audience, sold loads of CDs, ended up in bed at like 2:00 in the morning, which I don't even know what time that was in the UK because by then I don't know what I was living off. Then I get up in the morning and I'm like, okay, well, we need to get the train to Osaka. It's a 4-hour train ride on the bullet train. Okay. So I just make it to Osaka to meet Yoku in the train station for this meeting. Now, Yoku's English wasn't particularly great, but he brought somebody who spoke a little bit more. And it literally was a 20-minute meeting. In that 20-minute meeting, I did like an elevator pitch. Sorry if I'm talking too much, but I'm just trying to set the scene.
No, carry on. I love it.
I said to Yoku, I want to be your lead singer for the 100 Birds Orchestra. Let me come and perform with you. You guys learn my music. I'll do a show. We'll do this. You keep all the proceeds from the show to cover all the costs. I'll bring myself over. You just cover my accommodation. And they're just looking at me like a bit like I'm crazy. Yeah. And anyway, it was left like that. He then said to me, I need you to meet my friend back in Tokyo. I was like, okay, fine. So that was on the Sunday I had the meeting. The Monday, unbeknownst to me, his friend was head of A&R in Universal Japan. So
girl,
I was like, I know. So I went along, had this meeting. I explained to him what I want to do with Yoku and the orchestra. Long story short, they then spoke afterwards and they came up with the plan that we would do 2 shows back to back in the Billboard Live Osaka. They actually covered all the costs and we did very well out of it. But the point is, I put myself in that position. I pitched it. They didn't even know I existed until I took myself out there. So we did the shows back to back, which was a huge success. I went back with hubby. But what Universal did was they recorded that show live, and then that's when you can hear the Natasha Watts live in Osaka with the 100 Birds Orchestra, and Universal released it in Asia. Yeah, it was good.
You've got some stories.
I got stories for days, Jan. They flew me back as well. Later on in the year, I came and did their Christmas Eve special. I flew in the day before Christmas Eve. We did the show Christmas Eve. I left the show straight to the airport to get home in time for Christmas Day dinner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This will be your 5th album.
Yes.
And is there a title?
There is, and it's out there actually because it's on the tour. It is called Natasha Watts Music Is My Life Tour. So the album is called Music Is My Life.
And where are you going to be touring?
I'm going to start off in my new little hometown of Cardigan in Ceredigion. There's a beautiful little 250-seater theatre here, and I performed there earlier on this year with just the piano, and it was amazing. And my band are coming down to rehearse, so we thought we'd use the opportunity to then start the tour. So March the 25th, I'm in Cardigan. Then the following week is April the 2nd, and I'm doing a wonderful 3 p.m. matinee performance in Basingstoke at the Haymarket, which is another lovely theatre. It's about 400 capacity there. Then the following week I will be at Bush Hall, the 7th of April in Shepherd's Bush, London. Then
My Manor.
Your Manor. And then April the 8th, I will be at the Hare and Hounds in Birmingham, which is a wonderful little soul venue. You know, there's a lot of really lovely acts have come through there. The 9th, I will be down at the Clarendon Royal. We're doing just a duo. That's Easter Sunday. So sit down meal, Easter Sunday meal, and me performing. Then Monday the 10th, I will be at the Apex in Bury St Edmunds. Lovely venue.
I've always said this about you, Natasha. You are such a hard-working performer, artist, songwriter. You are.
I try.
What do you think has been your biggest achievement so far?
Oh wow! I think there's a couple of things, and I can't put them in an order, as it were. So I would just say, can I just say there's like top 5? So musically, writing every single song on 5 different albums. That for me, when I was 20 and I was talking to Universal Publishing and they were like, do you write? I was like, oh no, I couldn't write. And then I think, how naive of me, to now write every single song I've sung. I think that's an amazing achievement. They're not all good, but some of them I think are really from the heart, and some of them I wish I hadn't written, but there you go. And then, but that's growth. I think opening up and being the support act for the wonderful Miss Gladys Knight in 2015 was one of the highlights of my career, without a shadow of a doubt. And that I learned a lot watching her. Little story here. So I met Gladys. I was 17, and that's when I was living over in the States with Rome Lowry from Maze and Frankie Beverly. And she was opening up for Frankie Beverly. We was all there for the show, and I got to talk to her that night in her dressing room just as she came off stage. And she signed this wonderful picture for me. And I really didn't realise the prominence of that picture. So imagine then rolling forward, it was like 23 years later. I take that picture back into her dressing room, and she couldn't believe I still had that picture. And she's written on the other side of that picture, and the fact that she was schooling me all that time before, and then I opening up for her 23 years later. That to me is absolutely mind blowing. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, I will keep that picture. Well, obviously it's one of my treasured possessions. Opening up for the OJs. Meeting Eddie and everyone and just being around such soul royalty is, and again, doing all of this without an agent, this is the key thing for me, ask and you shall receive. And I am not afraid to ask. I'm not afraid to, put myself out there. And I've been rejected for an awful lot, but every now and again you'll get a yes. And that's the defining moment, isn't it?
That's that law of attraction, isn't it?
Law of attraction, absolutely. And then lastly, obviously working and performing with a 35-piece orchestra. Who gets to do that? And to hear them reinterpret your songs the way you've written them is just it still gives me goosebumps, you know.
Oh, I bet
I
it
will never
does.
forget that. Yeah. I mean, if I never do anything again, I've got those memories, and it's mind blowing.
And no
It
one can
really
take
is.
that, and no one can take those memories away from you.
No, absolutely not. And I'm super, super excited that I've done all of that. So, and I still think the best is yet to come.
So,
Yeah.
Omar,
Yeah.
Insatiable.
Yeah, I love that song.
How did that come about? How did that come about working with Omar? And what was it like
Ask
to work
and
with
you
him?
ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in Chelsea, and
Yeah, because
he came on. He was a surprise, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
we kept that one secret,
You did
and
indeed.
that song. So I said to Omar, listen, I'm doing this album. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing one too. And I was like, okay, well, you know, you can have it on your album and I can have it on mine. And he was like, well, if it's any good, you know, he's a bit cheeky. I said, all right, no worries. Richard Earnshaw did the backing track. He get this backing track. And I drove to Omar's studio in London, and one afternoon, and I played in this and I said, what do you think of this? And he was like, this is good. I said, I know. And so we started writing. We wrote that song so quick. I wrote the lyrics, he did melodies. He was like, oh my God, that was, and he loves that song a lot. He really loves it because he's always performing it still, which is great. That gives me a huge boost of confidence. Even on the night, so when he did his launch, I came and done his event, and Flow Assist, she came up and she was like, oh my God, that song. And she recited the lyrics back to me, because one of the lines is, if time was all we had, was all we knew, I'd wait forever. And she was like, who wrote that? I was like, I did. Oh, she was like, oh, and because she's really into poetry. And I've never really thought about the deepness of what I'd written until she pointed it out. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. But anyway, it just was a really defining moment. And I love Omar. And, you know, I'd like to think that we could do another song at some point.
Take the feelings that you have, make them faithful. Show the world you got this love, you're insatiable. Blessings coming home to you, willing and able. Let your light shine through.
If time was all we had, was all we knew, I'd wait forever. My heart is open wide and waiting for you to stay. I just wanna be in your life. I deserve to be the one by your side. Hear me now, I won't walk away. Not gonna give up today, no way.
Take the feelings that you have, make them
Take the
faithful.
feeling.
Show the world you got this love,
You got to show the world.
Blessings coming home to you,
Blessings come to you.
let your light shine through.
Ooh, yeah. I knew it from day one. The feelings are so strong. Just want to be alone with you. I have feel it down below, so wanna let it go. Come and take me, baby. Ooh, I wanna get to know you. Show me, baby. Ooh, I get to know you. Oh, yeah.
Take the feelings that you have,
Ooh,
make them
take it,
faithful.
baby.
Show the world you got this
Show
love,
the world
you're
you got me, yeah.
Blessings coming home to you,
Blessings
willing
come to
and
you when you
able. Let your
I'm
light
willing
shine
and
through.
able.
Let's start
Oh,
this
start it up, yeah. Oh, up and over.
Let's start this
Start it up,
never doubt I'll be with you to the end. I say this to you now, with my hand on my heart. Shine on, let the world hear you sing.
Take the feelings that you have, make them faithful.
Yeah.
Show the world you got,
we got something special
insatiable. Blessings coming home to you, willing and able. Let your light shine through.
Got something special.
Take the feelings that you have, make them faithful. Show the world you got this love, you're insatiable. Blessings coming home to you, willing and able.
So are we expecting someone else for you to be working with very soon?
I would have loved to do a duet potentially with Tony Monreal on this album, but actually I've just kept it me, because this album is my growth, and I've just kept it me, and the simplicity of it being me. I'm really proud of that.
I'm so proud of you, Natasha. I've seen you from way before you started your singing career. And then when I saw you singing, I was like, wow, this woman's going to go far. I remember that.
Oh, God bless you. Listen, I love my soul family, and what makes it more poignant with a lot of us is we have all sort of raved together for years, way before I was singing, you know, on the boats, in Basingstoke, here, there and everywhere. And, you know, I like to think that it's a bit of a, you know, girls done good, you know, chase the dream and reach the heights that I always wanted to reach, you know. But yeah, I really just want people to, if they haven't come and seen a show, or they haven't been to a show for some time, this show is going to be killer. It really is. And I think it is the best work by far that I've ever done.
Oh, I'm telling you, listeners, you have to see Natasha live. She is absolutely amazing. She is off the hook.
Thank you.
No.
They've only got to go to my website. All of the information, all the ticket links, everything is on my website. So natashawattsmusic.com. It's that easy.
Natasha.
Yes.
Miss Watts. Lady of the Manor in Wales.
Oh, it's the Grange, darling. The Grange.
The Grange. You know
we
what?
both know I'm not posh.
You know what I had to ask you?
Go on.
You're not the only one famous in your family, are you?
Oh my God,
Because
did you see him? Did you see him?
I need you to tell the listeners out there
I'm
about
so
your
proud.
brother, please.
I'm so proud of that boy. So there's only 3 years between me and my bigger brother. And so growing up, I was the proverbial pain in his backside. I'd follow him everywhere. And Mum was like, take your sister. So he always had to take me with him. But I didn't watch it because I was in Spain, but I got all these video messages of my brother in his finery, because he is Yeoman Warder 403, which was the first black yeoman warder in the history of the monarchy. He had made it into the Guinness World Record books, and not only that, he was standing guard over our Queen while she presided in Westminster Hall.
You hear that?
Yeah. It's, I'm very proud of him. So what an honour. I mean, he is very, very proud of his achievements. No one's more proud of him than I am of, you know, him. So yeah, he's done good, and he's been all over the papers. So yeah, I'm very proud of him.
And his name?
Lawrence Watts.
That's right. Watts.
What? It's all about the Watts.
It's all about the Watts.
We're all so proud of all of our siblings. You know, all the siblings have done well, and you know, we've all got our mother's gift for just pushing forward. So yeah, it's great.
Mother's blessings, hey?
Oh, isn't it just? Yeah. Jan, listen, thank you so much for asking me. I know we go back, but it's just lovely. I'm so proud of what you're doing, and you just keep that soul flag flying.
Girl, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. It really has. And I wish you all the best, and you're going to get more coming to you, because the universe is listening. And everything's going to happen for you, because you are in the right mind, and you feel good, and you're going to get there. I know you will.
We're not here to mess about, are we, at the end of the day? Let's make a difference, leave a legacy, do something positive. That's how I look at it.